Hutton Hut, and a good Friday to each and every one of you out there in my racehorse land. Nick Hines and Sarge reporting for duty here on My Racehorse Live. We've got an exciting show for you all today, and of course, on the heels of the 50th Annual Eclipse Awards last night, in which our very own Authentic was granted the Horse of the Year and 3-year-old champion of the year 2020. In fact, the last fourth horse in the last 7 years to be granted both the 3-year-old and Horse of the Year honor. Congratulations to each and one of you out there that are part of Authentic, and of course the shareholders and the fans of Authentic. This journey could not be possible without you. We've got a show that will include not only a look back at last night's Eclipse Awards, but of course into tomorrow, the San Pasquale Stakes out at the Great Race Place. It's a rainy day here in Southern California, but the sun, I'm sure, will be shining on Tizamagician. Race number 5, the Grade 2 San Pasquale, is drawn in post position number 1 of 5, and bringing in some special guests, which include team member Gary Mandella and assistant to his father, Richard, and we'll talk Tizamagician. In addition to a special guest in Rickelle Nelson. She's going to kind of reflect on that journey as a partner and shareholder in Authentic. So an exciting show. And don't forget Hannah's special segment. We brought that in last week, a look in at Amandrea. She's going to feature, of course, American Heiress. And without further ado, I want to welcome in the Joes. Joe Moran, Joe Mishak. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day. How are you?
Great to have you back, Joe Moran, from your ventures down to Gulfstream Park. Welcome back, Joe Mishak. As we kind of jump into the swing of things, and there's the old saying, you're only as good as your last race, but at the same time, you're only as good as your next race. And as we will have an opportunity to reflect on Authentic and what a year it was in 2020, we're moving ahead to tomorrow's Grade 2 with Tizamagician, the San Pasquale.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's we're hopefully this is a long-awaited breakout party, right? It's obviously anytime you enter grade stakes competition, the level increases, level of competition, and I think he's ready for that long-awaited breakout party. We've talked at great length about Tisnell himself as a racehorse, taking time to mature, and this being a son of Tisnell and Tisnell's progeny taking time to mature. This looks like a horse who really has finally taken that final step forward, we hope, right? I mean, we always knew he kind of had a lot of talent, and he was kind of lollygagging around for the last 12 months, and then over the last 5 months, and in my opinion, I've seen a horse that's kind of really changed it up. He's more on the muscle. He's more aggressive. He seems like he's thriving on the competition. He wants to go in the mornings. He sees other horses. He wants to go. He's he's feisty in his races, right? He's down on the inside. He doesn't want horses getting by him. So I think we're sitting on a good effort, and I can't wait to see the race.
Well, certainly the riders race the likes of Drayden Van Dyke aboard. He knows the horse well. Joe Moran, you've been out for his workouts in the mornings. What can you tell us about how he is feeling of late and the anticipation? I know you and I have discussed numbers along with Joe Mishak in reference to Thorograph and Ragozin. He's going to need to point forward tomorrow. And this ultimately, I think, would essentially be that tip of the iceberg if he does indeed step forward, with which the expectation is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, he definitely has to improve, but we knew that going into Graded Stakes Company. And I think he's showing all the signs that he is ready to improve. For those that didn't tune into our Wednesday work show that we debuted this week, we highlighted Tizamagician's last work, and I don't think it could have been any better. We'll have Gary Mandela on later. I'm sure he'll touch on it. He said the best work he's had for them. So he's just a horse that's peaking into form, and I think he's sitting on a great effort. Whether it's good enough to compete with this group, that's what we'll find out on Saturday.
All right. Well, let's jump right into the handicapping segment. Joe Mishak, I know that you've instituted a ticket as well as myself and Joe Moran. But what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously, having drawn the rail, I think there's going to be a sense of commitment early on. But you put together a trifecta. What was your thought process going into this?
Well, small field for one, so I try to create a little bit of value. You mentioned drawing the rail. I think obviously this is a horse that likes to be forwardly placed, likes to be in front, kind of likes to look an eyeball horse on the inside. I'm not quite sure, looking at the pace setup and the horses that are in the race, that will make the lead in this situation. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But I think Idol obviously is a very rapidly improving horse for trainer Richard Baltus. and I think they'll kind of the primary competition. And so just trying to create some value here, take Tiz over Idol over the other 3 runners in the field, and try to create some value in a small field with a $10 track.
Yeah, I mean, Tizamagician, considering the fact that Tizamagician is dispatched at 9-2 on the morning line, gives you that indication that he's getting every bit the value. Essentially, the second longest shot on the board. It's not often in a 5-horse graded stakes event that you have 2 horses that are coach second choices at 2-1. So that just kind of tells you the I don't want to say the instability of the race, but I'm not totally convinced that this is one where Tizamagician should be at 9-2 with one at 9-5 and both essentially lined up at 2-1. But King Guillermo, a horse that certainly got plenty of buzz on the Derby Trail, last seen with a disappointing 4th, beaten 12 lengths in the Cigar Mile, and he hasn't had to work over the racetrack. All right, Joe, I like your thinking, and obviously this is definitely an opportunity based on that ticket that I think we can pad our bankroll. Joe Moran, how did you see it?
Yeah, well, I kind of kept it simple. Usually I'm trying to be a little creative here, but I kept it simple and just went the win bet with Tizamagician. You know, sometimes in these short fields, the dynamic and race setup can always be a little shaky. Just it's a race rider. It's a rider's race for sure. I definitely think Idol and Express Trains are my biggest fear of threats. Idol was a horse for those that are involved with vertical threat. He was the workmate. His final work before the Pat Day Mile in Kentucky. He was a horse that was debatably maybe had the notch above vertical threat that day in a work, so you knew he had talent. He's kind of that steady grinder, but I'm going to key Tizamagician on top. Like I said, he's just a horse that's coming right into form, and I'm going to play it safe, and if we win, I'll just take my money with a win bet and then not worry about the horses underneath.
All right. So again, I think sometimes the easiest route and the most smart route would be to kind of take the simplest route, if you will. All right. So I would be a little surprised if we got 9-2 when it was all said and done. I think based on the popularity, as we've seen with My Racehorse and the My Racehorse effect, as we like to see it, especially in the early wagering. So as much as I wanted to kind of construct a rolling double or think pick threes, I just want to solely rely on Tizamagician in this case. It was interesting as I looked up the history of the San Pasquale. This is a race that dates back so many a year. In fact, when you look back to 1935, a horse by the name of Bluebeard had won. When you look at the race's history, and I'll actually have Gary Mandela touch on this, but Regal Falcon was a horse that comes to mind for Papa Mandela. So that was his first one. And, of course, Congrats, who won in 2005, and a horse that's gone on to be okay and then some in the breeding shed. So for me personally, I think the exacta angle is the best here in a sense that I really feel that Idol is a horse that's an upstart off of that runner-up effort last time. I think you can make a little bit of an excuse. I'm not sure that horse got the picture-perfect ride. And in a short field like this, you're going to have to make the proper cues. I think we all agree that Express Train, this horse is on the verge of a bust-out race based on his sheet numbers. And, you know, when you look at the pace dynamic here, it's going to be, I think, contingent upon what King Guillermo decides to do early on. If he's aggressive, Tizamagician might actually have to concede, which I would not want to see that, because I think we all can agree that he's a horse that's better suited when he's on, likely on, or just off the lead. So for me, it's Tizamagician. I'm not buying the stock on King Guillermo. I hope he ends up in the neighborhood of 8-5, 7-5, and I'll try and take advantage of that with an exacta at the end of the day. Sound good, gentlemen?
That sounds good to me. And I mean, the one thing I always preach it on our shows on horses coming from outside tracks to California. It's a whole new surface they're running on. So I like to play our home course horses and horses that get to run out of their stalls. So I think that's a big advantage for us.
No, I agree. All right, we're going to come back to you gentlemen, and we're going to welcome in the gentleman of gentlemen. Let's call him that. Gentleman, Gary Mandela. I think you can appreciate that. Of course, your father trained gentleman himself for one of the all-time greats in R.D. Hubbard. Welcome to My Racehorse Live. It's great to see you on this Friday.
No, great to be with you guys. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's funny, Gary. You know, I look at the history of the Grade 2 San Pasquale, and you know, I'm sure you're relatively old enough to remember Regal Falcon in '83, but are you?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, kind of a jet black horse. And if I remember the circumstances well enough, he was a horse that moved up on an off track, and he caught an off track that day and took advantage. And that was the biggest win of his career. But you're going back a ways. I might have been 13 or 14 back then.
Yeah, and then of course you came back with the horse in congrats. What was it? 2005, and considering that horse owned a partnership with Claiborne and Adele Dillschneider. So here's a race that dates back so many a year. I mean, we're going all the way back to 1935 since its inception. As we enter into the race tomorrow with Tizamagician, this is a horse that I think we can all agree he's thriving, having won 2 of his last 3. Coming off of that twice other than optional claiming victory. How important is this race tomorrow? And what's the expectation, anticipation going in?
Because he's trained so well since his last allowance win, the expectation is that he's going to run a big race and show us, one of the top level races that he's capable of.
Right.
Is it important in the grand scheme of the year and what everybody would like to accomplish with this horse? I wouldn't put too big an emphasis on that, but these horses are good enough that if he can trade punches with them and be right there with a horse like Idol and Express Train, King Guillermo's the X factor because he's coming from a different track and you don't know if he's going to handle it here. But if he can stand up and either beat these horses or show that he belongs with them, then that gives us a lot to look forward to through the year, because I actually think these 2 horses, Idol and Express Train, are equal in terms of having as much potential to jump into the handicap division and become serious handicap division horses anywhere in the country. And if we prove that we're right there with them, then that gives us a lot of options to stay home, get on a plane, do whatever we need to run in some nice races.
So as we've seen Tizamagician evolve, based going back to last summer until now, what's the biggest difference you've seen in him?
Maturity, physically. He was a horse that had a big growth spurt, which when you get a Tiz now, you kind of figure that's coming at some point. And it really kicked in late in his 2-year-old year. And when he turned 3, he kind of settled into it and put together that really nice string of good, consistent races for us, which everybody, I hope, remembers was what convinced us we should take this horse to Dubai and travel him there, and thought he was sitting on a big race the way that he was training. And then the chaos theory of life kicked in and we got the race canceled and stuck there. And it took him a while to get over that trip, but he's found his rhythm back now and he's as good as he's ever been. And that trip and everything associated with it cost us some time with him, but I think now we're in the window where he's really going to show us what he's made of.
Is it safe to say that with the big cap just around the corner and this being essentially a springboard for him, is that the short-term goal with the long-term goal, the Breeders' Cup Classic being at Del Mar in 2021? Or does Team Mandela essentially really do take it race by race without a projectional plan to the end of the year?
Yeah, this is more of a race by race basis. Not that, you don't allow yourself to dream. And, when you talk about the 2 races that you mentioned, they're both at 1.25 miles. The one thing we found out about this horse is that that's in his wheelhouse. That the longer race where he ran second, granted he didn't win, but he showed that day that 1.25 miles is going to be just fine for him. And that's not true of a lot of horses, and not true of a lot of talented horses. If he can relish that distance, races like that are going to be very, very intriguing for him.
All right, well, that's great. That's great news, and it's exactly what we want to hear. All right, let's move on to Moonlight d'Oro. I just happened to be out a few days ago in which you worked midweek, and tell us about her and that recent workout that she had here on January 27th, a 3/4 move in 112 and some mid-change.
Yeah, very nice breeze. She broke her maiden very nicely at Los Alamitos. The filly that was second that day has come back and run a big race for Bob Baffert. This is a nice breeze for her. For those that are watching now and have seen the workout on XBTV, if they're not that familiar with my father's stable, they need to remember that the filly she's breezing with is named Muse, is an older filly, much more experienced, much more accomplished at this stage. She's multiple stakes placed, and Nick, I dare say you'd agree with me. She was much the best in the Kalukan Queen the other day. If not for a troubled trip, she'd end up being a stakes winner already.
Agreed.
When you have a just turned 3-year-old that can trade punches with a straight, older stakes quality horse like she did in that breeze, that's a really good sign. So we're thinking that she's ready to take the step up into this type of a category and show us what she's made of. And obviously the biggest thing that we learned the other day at Los Alamitos is the longer the better for her as well.
All right, Gary. Well, I know you've got to attend back to a program, of course, with a big weekend of racing. I know racing being canceled today due to the inclement weather, and props to the racing office out at Santa Anita for doing so in light of the rain. But it's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you out there at Santa Anita tomorrow for the San Pasqual Tizamagician. Post time, approximately 2:33 Pacific. Gary, as always, appreciate your time, sir.
Great to be on, and congratulations on the awards last night. And I'll see as many of you out there as possible tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary Mandela. And nice update there. And of course, we'll continue to get updates out on other horses in the Mandela camp, including Lane Way, who is on the approach of a race. And nice to hear that Popular Demand is back in the stable again. All right. As you all know, as we bring back in the team here, the 50th annual Eclipse Awards presented last night by virtual there at the Spendthrift Farm, and our partner. And again, wanted to congratulate the partnership of the Spendthrift Farm, Madaket, the Starlight Partners. Again, it's really hard to put a superlative to what the year had provided. But, you know, knowing that we've come this far in such a short amount of time, we wanted to introduce a video for you all. And I'm excited to see this. It'll be the first time I've seen it.
In front and finding more on the lead. It's Authentic going all the way.
Authentic strolls home in the sham. He'll win by about 8 lengths. Authentic, the leader. Honor AP chasing with determination, then storm the court there in the final furlong. And it's Authentic who's still very strong on the front end. And he pulls away with authority. Authentic is undefeated as he will romp in the San Felipe. Authentic just breezing through the stretch. Opens up to lead it by 3 lengths. New York Traffic trying so hard, and he is closing the gap now. Here comes New York Traffic after Authentic. Authentic, New York Traffic are going to hit it together. Here it is. Photo finish, Authentic and New York Traffic.
Authentic, he shipped really well. You know, he's been known, he can get a little excited, but here he's been really, really good. So he's maturing, and I really couldn't be happier with him. He is just on it. You can tell he's happy. He's enjoying what he's doing, and that's what you want to see at this point. He won at Del Mar, Santa Anita, wherever you take him, he wins. People have spent millions and millions of dollars and can't make it this far. And here you are. You're in there for minimal amount of money, and you get to get nervous. You get the thrill of your horse, anticipation. So now the Derby party really mean a lot more.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby, and they're into the stretch, and it's Tis the Law on the outside of Authentic. These two stride for stride. Authentic is dragging in. Tis the Law still trying to get him. Authentic, Tis the Law, here's the rider. Authentic has won the Kentucky Derby. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Tis the Law trying to make a run down the center of the track, but it's Authentic in front. He won the Derby. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's Authentic indeed.
Mr. Hughes likes to say that to be a champion, you've got to beat a champion. And we felt like this was one of the deepest Breeders' Cup Classic fields in several years. And to come out on top was just a great credit to the job that Bob did, that Johnny did, and most of all, a credit to Authentic.
And a big congratulations going out to all of the my racehorse Authentic partners. Of course, finished second in the year-end voting for leading owner of the year, as Authentic swept both the 3-year-old champion category and horse of the year. That was a wonderful video and a tribute. Once again, difficult to put it into words, but the journey is simply the journey, knowing that we've all been a part of that journey. Joe Mishak, you know, I know that you were there first and foremost on Derby Day, along with Joe Moran and, of course, Mike Behrens, with a kind of a skeleton crowd, if there were to speak. I mean, just had essentially just relatively low numbers and ownership groups involved there. What was that feeling? And as you encapsulate the year, what words can you put to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eclipse Awards, I mean, obviously it's a culmination of the year that was. And I think, I'm sure, just like the thousands of shareholders that were involved, for all of us here at My Racehorse, it was a whirlwind, you know, the last few months, and, you know, kind of pinch yourself and say, what was it a dream? How quick did time go by? And then last night gave us the opportunity to reflect, look back, and then realize, you know, you're in rarefied air of the horse that you were a part of, the horse that you co-campaigned. I mean, we're talking about horses like American Pharaoh, Justify, Curlin, that, you know, won, you know, 3-year-old and horse of the year in the same year. And it just doesn't happen very often. So you appreciate it when it comes and it happens. It may never happen again. We hope it does. We're certainly going to try to do it as much as we can, because it's a lot of fun. But understand that, you know, how big it was, right, and the journey that was. So we're very appreciative of it.
Yeah, I think it's the thing I can appreciate most is that you put yourself, along with Joe Moran, Hannah, and, of course, our CEO and founder, Mike Behrens, you definitely relished in the moment. You know, obviously, as a team in this racing game, you kind of go on to the next race. I mean, I know that if I were to get beaten in a certain race, a horse didn't run well, my father used to say that race was 100 years ago. Let's go on to the next. I like to look at it in that type of a light, but at the same time, you still have to kind of enjoy and appreciate what you have. And certainly Authentic, looking back at the year, and of course the Eclipse Awards, certainly has taken it to another level. Hannah, as you reflect on 2020 and the efforts and the accomplishments of the Authentic and the partnership, what's going through your mind and heart?
I mean, it's definitely hard not to get chills when watching that video. I know I've seen it multiple times since yesterday, and so each time I watch it, it's like watching it for the first time. And it's just so exciting for the owners. I think last night was a big, you know, it was their night to celebrate, and so horse of the year, champion 3-year-old male, that's just some huge accomplishments to celebrate, and so it's really been great to be a small part of it.
Joe Moran?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the thing that first pops into mind is it was really warranted. I mean, you don't really capture that moment, like you said, and truly enjoy it when it happens, when things are moving so fast. But when you take a step back, it was truly warranted. What a great horse to be part of. Quite a ride. And just for all the owners, whether it was their first time being involved with a racehorse, or some folks that have been involved in this game forever and never been able to be involved with a horse of this stature. I got so many texts and emails last night, and I'm just more than anything happy for all those owners. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that, you know, as we talk, and the idea of this My Racehorse family is for it to be kind of a family concerted affair where we all take part in the journey, good, bad, or indifferent, because they all unfortunately can't be authentic, but it certainly represents it well. Well, speaking of representation, I know that I've had an opportunity as being friends with this particular individual on Facebook and in social media. And it was in a short time that I realized that she had actually come on to the My Racehorse wagon. And certainly it has essentially taken it to a whole nother level, because I think all of us and every one of us have been blessed by this individual. And it's Raquel Nelson, for all that you bring to the game. And Raquel, we bringing you on today to My Racehorse Live, and we appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much. Great being here.
Well, it's I don't even know where to begin, Raquel. I know that you've endured some personal struggle of your own with a cancer diagnosis, and I have to tell you, you look wonderful, and you're a bright light in this sport of horse racing, and just in life in general, giving us a sense of hope. So, tell us a bit about yourself and your journey up until today.
Okay, well, I grew up loving horse racing. Got hooked with Affirmed and Aladar. The Kentucky Derby has just always been a huge part of my life. Sorry. But it's been about a year. February 6th last year, I had surgery for a cyst. They found cancer in it. Around March, I started chemo. And so while I was going through that, I noticed that my racehorse had, was going to be selling shares in Authentic. And I had been following him, since his 2-year-old year, because I have a thing for the chromed out bays. And so, I'm friends with Baffert and a lot of his team. And so just to have this once in a lifetime chance was amazing. My husband bought it as a gift for me because I was getting ready to go through my final chemo. And so it's just been something that's been able to carry me through. My husband, he bought this as a gift, and it's just given so much. But I'm a photographer and an artist. I've, like I said, I've followed racing my entire life. Never thought that I would be able to be as involved in the industry as I am. We moved to Kentucky probably, it's close to 20 years ago. We lived in Lexington for a while, moved to Westview. My husband's a pastor, and so we moved there for a few years. Then, as luck would have it, he took over a church that's about 2 blocks from the backside of Churchill Downs. I work at the Kentucky Derby Museum, so I get to live the Derby every day. And I've told people as a photographer, I've gotten to shoot the Derby. I didn't get to this year, which is kind of funny because, I've covered it all these years. I finally have a horse running, and
Right.
But the first time I stepped onto the track to take pictures, I cried like a baby. I'm just knowing all the history that's there. And now that I've gotten to be a part, there's nothing like the feeling of having a horse in the Derby, but when they're coming down that stretch and you have a chance to win, and then you cross the line in first, that's nothing that I will ever forget.
Yeah, I don't often get teared up in a live show, but I have to tell you, your journey is heartwarming and it's inspiring. And as I've kind of ventured through personal struggles of my own, there are perspectives that are put before us, and I think you represent and essentially culminate all that we would hope that the horse would give back to us, because it's not just horse racing, it's actually the equine itself and the equine athlete that I think has essentially taken us to a whole new extreme. And had you owned horses prior to coming on board with My Racehorse?
I owned a share with the Churchill Downs Racing Club in a horse named Rare Form. He gave me my first win at Churchill Downs. Then he got third in the Fred Hooper last year. And so, I was thinking things can't possibly get better than that.
Right.
And then with this, and, it's really been a blessed journey.
Well, we're looking at work that you've done here, and of course the work you've done for Authentic. You've done immaculate artistry. Tell us what goes through the mind. And the one thing I can tell you, Raquel, that I can appreciate most is how you captured the eye. Expression, but the eye really comes through your portrait here.
Thank you so much. That's what I really try to do. It's one of the things since I've been around horses all my life and worked with them that I can be around them and pick up on their personality. And, you know, each horse has its own personality. I always say that trainers, you know, they're like, you know, psychiatrists and trying to figure out what makes each horse work.
Sure.
And so with him, you know, his eye, he was just like this ball. I always describe it as like this ball of rubber bands that, you know, he was always just had so much energy, and you just felt like any second it just, you know. But the thing about him is he's so smart that he always was, you know, paid attention and listened to whoever, you know, had him. And so that was one of the things I always say, call it a worried eye, you know, that look that's always, but it's not worried, but that's just what it always seemed like. And so that's the way he was at the track. At the farm, he's starting to let down. He's not quite as much, you know, a ball of energy. And he looks great, and he's an amazing horse.
Well, it's pretty remarkable looking at the photo here with both you and a capital A Authentic. I'm noticing here that he doesn't have a lip chain on, which generally stallions, when they get out to the farm, they tend to be a little headstrong. But it seems as if you two make. By the way, hello to your cat in the background.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's like I just noticed her walking.
The relationship, you can tell that there's essentially that connection there. And it's amazing, as I was saying, how these horses can come into our lives and they ultimately can change everything. And I think, again, you represent what this sport is all about, because you not only convey it in your work, but you also share it just in your experience. And, you know, we're very blessed to have you as part of the My Racehorse team, you know, and I look forward to meeting you personally. You know, in light of the COVID pandemic in 2020, essentially throwing everything off kilter, but I look forward to meeting you. I've never visited the Kentucky Derby Museum, and I would pay triple to get a personal tour from you.
Well, you know, anytime you're here, just let me know. You know, I'm the reservations manager there, so I take care of all that stuff, and used to give tours. I know that place so well. Churchill's just like second home almost, you know. It's my favorite place to be on the backside in the mornings, and so we'll you know, I know you'll be able to get back there anyway, but just to kind of take that all in.
All right. Well, I say, Raquel, again, thank you for sharing your journey, and we wish you continued best and the blessings and health as you continue on in your journey. And I look forward to being part of the journey together. How about that?
Well, I'm so blessed by all of you, and just getting to be a part of this journey. I'm so thankful for what My Racehorse has done. You know, everybody talks about needing to bring new people into the sport, and you've got 5,314 people that are hanging on and wanting to learn everything about it.
And indeed, each and every day is a new adventure, isn't it? As I was saying, good, bad, or indifferent. We wish that Authentic would come along every year, but I think you've done just a remarkable job in being able to just put it out there for all to see and share. And your work and efforts does not go unnoticed. So, Raquel, God bless you, and thanks for coming on today with us here on My Racehorse Live.
Thank you so much.
Salute to Rickelle Nelson. Boy, what a wonderful lady, and truly an honor to have her part of the My Racehorse team. And you know, we wish her continued health and success going forward. And I'm sure she'll be paying some visits out to Authentic sooner than later. They seem to get along quite well. All right, let's bring back in our all things social, Hannah Bloom. Hannah, I was having a hard time, keeping the tears back. Raquel is certainly a gem of a woman.
Likewise, behind the scenes, I had the same issue with the tears, but I had the honor of getting to know her just a tiny bit yesterday when we did our test for the live, and you said it best. She's just so great for the sport, such a sweet person. And Raquel, we're so glad you got to be on the show. She got to share a lot of images with me, and like I said, it's just been so great that I'm glad we finally got to have her on the show. It was just fantastic.
Our social segment was a huge hit last week, and it was so great that we decided to bring it back this week. So which horse in the stable are you going to focus on this week?
Yeah, well, and I'll start with, please let us know who you'd like to see. Like I said, we can't touch on all of our horses every week, so this is a nice way to kind of bring a little attention to some of the horses we don't always get to talk about. But this week we're going to talk a little bit about American Heiress. I know we're all really excited. She made it back to Todd Pletcher's barn. She just got to Florida with him, and so we're really excited. We have a latest work video of her right here. And, as far as personality goes, I know she's a typical American Pharaoh. She's super easy to work with. We've heard she's got a beautiful personality, a very sweet personality, but then also tenacious on the track. She's a beautiful mover, and not to mention just a beautiful horse as is. Definitely takes after American Pharaoh. So that being said, like I said, we're really excited to see her back at the track.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think we talked about the patience, Hannah. Thank you for that segment. I like this. In fact, I love it. In fact, I think we should bring it back week after week. But I think the whole idea is, the patience game and doing what's right for the horse, putting the horse first, doing it because it's right for the horse, not because we have to.
Yeah.
And, having seen her as a yearling, I remember visiting her at the Spendthrift Farm up until, I believe I saw her in Ocala last spring with Joe and Joe. In fact, you're going to bring both Joe Moran and Joe Mishak back in. For me, I just love so much to see the growth development of American Heiress. So thank you for that, Hannah.
Yeah.
Joe Mishak, Joe Moran back with us. And gentlemen, I just wanted to touch on your final thoughts. First, Joe Moran on the weekend, Tizamagician, and obviously horses going forward. We'll get you updated on more things. And I want to say, by the way, nice work on the Wednesday workshop.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was fun, and I'm looking forward to doing those every week. So I think it'll be a cool thing for everyone to tune in. We'll also maybe start throwing those out for app updates for those horses that were specified each week, so you guys can follow in if you missed it. But yeah, super excited for Tizamagician. It's always cool seeing a horse that we got to see back in 2019 when we first went out to OBS for our first trip. We got to see him at the farm when he was with Raul Reyes. So it's really awesome to see a horse develop as a young 2-year-old into this now 4-year-old who's going to possibly be competing on the biggest stages. Super excited about that. And then also I just wanted to touch on the nominations for the Grade 3 Las Virgenes were just posted for Moonlight de Oro. Only 8 nominations. A few of the targets we expected to be in there. Miraz, who ran 3rd in Moonlight de Oro's win, she came back to win it impressively. Calypso and Frosteria, who ran 2nd to Moonlight de Oro. So looks like a pretty good spot for her. So I'm super excited for that the following weekend.
Joe Mishak, I know that you've been heavily inundated with just work in general, because this is a machine essentially moving forward and just trying to get the offerings up or whatnot. Any quick updates you want to give toward any of those?
Well, obviously, we're still waiting the approval or the qualifications from the SEC. So obviously, we're hoping as soon as possible to get those horses up, and we'll certainly notify everybody once that approval or the qualification comes through. And just a few things to touch on real quick, going back to American Heiress and then to Raquel's piece, in my opinion. I actually talked to Raul Reyes this morning down at King's Equine. And we were just, I called him to talk about our 17 or, he's got 13 of the yearlings down there, or newly turned 2-year-olds. It's kind of hard to get over that we're already in a new year. And, he brought him up, said everything was doing well and that they should be starting to schedule to start their workouts next week. But then immediately afterwards, he goes, "How's American Heiress doing?" he's really taken to that horse. He's, that horse has been with him, and you can just tell in his voice that he has high hopes for the horse. So it's pretty cool to have him touch out and reach out to see how she's doing with Todd. And then, it's hard to not get, moved to tears by Raquel, right? In that piece. And, again, it's something we stress at My Racehorse and in all of our staff that, that comes on board. And I think they have the same commitment that I do, that our CEO and founder, Michael Behrens, does. Is that's, one of the main reasons we get involved and stay involved with thoroughbred racing, right? The power of those stories, to be involved with people like Raquel, to shed light, to bring that energy, to bring that emotion. That's what it's about. We all love winning races. We all love hopefully having a stallion that, potentially makes us a return. Of course, we know how difficult that is. So to take solace in those different stories, it's truly amazing. And what, gives me energy every day to want to, remain in this industry.
Nick,
I couldn't express it even in those words more so in the sense that we've had various partners that came on throughout the year. We're going to continue to do that. And Raquel essentially upped the bar with what a horse can do to essentially put you on that road to recovery. And she is certainly a shining light. All right, Joe Moran, Joe Mishak, thank you. Hannah, you wanted to touch on the watch party tomorrow for Tizamagician. What's happening?
I wanted to touch on the watch party, which take a look at our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter tomorrow. You can watch Tizamagician's race. I'll also be on site, so stay tuned on social. I'll be going live a few different times, putting up Instagram stories. So interact with me tomorrow if you can. And then also I just wanted to touch on, I know we've mentioned the Eclipse Awards, the amazing accomplishments last night that we heard. But thank you to all the owners. I was looking at all the comments we got on Facebook and our YouTube watch parties of the event. It was just really amazing to echo off Raquel and like the owner's experience and everything, just what Authentic and My Racehorse meant to them in 2020. So I just wanted to say thank you. It was really, really great to see.
Absolutely. And again, thank you to our partners at the Spendthrift Farm, Starlight Partners in Manicat, and truly, of course, Hall of Fame trainer Bob Baffert with his 4th Horse of the Year winner since dating back, since 2001. Tremendous training job. And Johnny V, a Hall of Fame rider who's been a regular guest, if you will, on My Racehorse Live. It truly has been quite a run. But we hope that we can continue that trend. And, of course, as I like to say, you're only as good as your next race. The Grade 2 San Pasquale tomorrow out at the Great Race Place. On behalf of Joe Moran, Joe Mishak, the lovely Hannah Bloom, and, of course, our special guest, Gary Mandela, Rickelle Nelson, a salute to each and every one of you for being part of My Racehorse Nation. Until next time.